Welcome back everyone to Lore with Ludus Infinium. And for those of you who have not seen the Emperor's Children video, I am recording this video right behind it. I do apologize, I have a stomach bug, so probably reduce the quality of the video, but I will do my best to make it as good as possible. Before we get into the video, I would like to say thank you to the sponsor of this video, Coda, who has been with me for a very long time. We've been really tight friends. He's the only moderator on my Discord and one of the moderators on my YouTube channel, and I fully trust this guy without any hesitation. I know he has my back in almost anything I do, and if he thinks I'm making a pretty dumb decision, he'll be right there to let me know. So really big thank you to Coda for sponsoring one of my videos, and hope you enjoy this particular video, Coda. So let's get into the Iron Warriors, or at least the basics of the Iron Warriors. So back when they were still just the 4th Legion, before they were given their name, they already had a reputation for being a little stubborn. So when they would put a plan in place, they would follow it regardless of whether it would be good or bad. And this tended to bite them in the ass a little more than it should have. The good news is that their gene seed had a very, very low rejection rate. So it wasn't a problem reinforcing them with new Astartes. However, they finally got to a point where, after all this attrition and all this stubbornness, where when they started out, they were considered one of the most numerous of the legions. Again, due to the fact that they had a very, very low rejection rate. And by the time they were reunited with Perturabo, they were down to 70,000 Astartes estimated. And to make matters even better, Perturabo decided that they had done such a bad job that they would kill that 1 in 10 in the Legion would be killed by the other 9. And this was met with a lot of criticism from other Primarchs and other officials in the Imperium, but the Emperor's like, no, let him play with his toys. And one specific Primarch who would never forget that, neither him nor Perturabo would forget this, was Rabute Girlyman, Primarch of the Ultra Smurfs, who thought of it as a real disservice having the who would become the Iron Warriors fought alongside the Ultramarines. He thought of it as a slap in the face to their honor. So, yeah, rivalries abound. So, one of the more interesting things leading up to the Horus Heresy, is that there was always, well, not always, but there was an increasing amount of distrust and resentment between the 4th Legion and essentially everyone else at this point. And after Perturabo was reunited with them, it just got worse. Their resentments increased a lot. So by the time the Horus Heresy came, there's, at least from what I could find, it's under speculation on what the final straw was that made Perturabo turn, but it's almost like it's no surprise. I mean, he felt very misused by the Emperor and the Imperium. So it's like, oh, hey, yeah, I don't like them anymore. So, During the heresy, interestingly enough, he was used the exact same way by Horus as he thought he was being used by the Emperor. See, right before the Horus heresy, he was getting these kind of crappy assignments to split up his legion to be used as garrison, to do the really, really shitty planetary sieges. But they were all coming from Horus. Most of them after he had turned traitor. It's very possible that Horus saw what was coming and did this as a way to show Perturaba that I won't misuse you as the Emperor does. So, there's that. Well, which is hilarious, because even after that, Horus uses the Iron Warriors exactly the same way. Like, you'll be the rear guard, and I'm going to stretch you as thin as possible and not give you the supplies you need. So this kind of this made their resentments even greater, honestly. The Iron Warriors like to work by themselves. And even after the Horus Heresy and the Great Scouring, there's a lot of infighting, but the interesting thing is they're very pragmatic about their infighting. As soon as a warsmith kills another warsmith, they will be the ones following more often than not. Be like, okay, we'll follow you now. And so they're really an interesting legion. And I recommend for anyone interested, pick into the lore. Check out some of the books on them. At first, I was very, I was like, Iron Warriors, what? I know about as much as them, and this will be funny, as next week's Legion, the White Scars, I know about as much of either of them, very, very little. So, seeing this, I was kind of like, oh, that's amazing. The one of two siege experts amongst the legions, and they get misused at first and build up this distrust and this resentment, and it just builds and builds and builds. It's really quite fascinating. Amongst their more famous battles, this is when I very rarely, I'm trying to stay away from focusing on specific battles, just going over how the battles affected them, not going into the battles, is the Iron Cage. The Iron Cage is probably one of, if not Perturaba's best moment. It's the one where you could say he finally beat Dorn at his own game. The only reason that Dorn and the Imperial Fist survived that is because of Robute Gilliman and the Ultramarines basically pulling their ass out of the fire. But I mean, there's not as much to talk about. I mean, actually, I will talk on this. This is kind of interesting. I like this. So, they don't like demonic gifts, and gifts in air quotes. They, if they start to get corruption, like say one of their arms turns into a massive writhing tentacle, they will cut it off and put on a bionic arm. So I really like that about them. It intrigues me on how I want to feel about them, because I feel like I can't really call them Chaos Marines. I have a much easier time calling them Renegade Marines than Chaos Marines, because they hate Chaos almost as much as they hate the Emperor. So it's really kind of a fascinating read, honestly. But with all that being said, that has been the video. I hope you enjoyed the basics of the Iron Warriors. If you want to support the channel, please subscribe, leave a like. There's a Patreon and a Streamlabs in the description. And the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will see you all in the next one. Bye!